But then when I was a youngster, I had several radium treatments. And years for sinus trouble. And years later, the government issued a warning that if you'd had those radium treatments, you should go to a doctor and get checked out. Well, I knew there was a big problem, and at that time I was manufacturing switches, and I designed a water machine of my own design that recycled the water hundreds of times per gallon. It was a very rough machine, and I had no intention to get into this business. I was just doing it to save my own life, because I know that if you're going to take radiation out of the water, you've got to do it hundreds of times. Also, when I was at the Choate School, it's in Wallingford, Connecticut, I was reading a book. I was about 16 years old, about the alchemists. Excuse me. They're the fathers of modern chemistry. And in that book it said, rapidly heating and cooling water, quote, produces mystical qualities. Well, I never really thought much about that till years later, when I was trying to lower the steam velocity in a distiller by starting and stopping the boiling. And I did that. We got patents on it. We sent 5 machines to York Labs for testing, and they took 57.91, that was the local tap water, down to less than 0.07 parts per million. Now that's lower than the standard for pure water. If you use the lab standard for pure water is 0.1 parts per million. Do you know that none of these companies out there, not one of them, they advertise that they make pure water. Do you know not one of them make pure water? Not even one. In fact, if you divide that out, that's 827 times purer than the tap water. The closest competitor at that time, the largest selling, because we're just starting out, the water was only 9 times pure. And right after that was done, Corning called me. They invented the best lab distillers in the world. And they said to me, you know, your machine test at York Labs is better than ours. How did you do it? So I told them I do it by starting and stopping the boiling to lower the steam velocity. And they said, whoa, that's a great way to get rid of the organics. In fact, their chemists called it start-stop boiling. They coined that word.